This debate is going to be about something that we don't know yet. We're entering like nowhere land. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong, but something like this has not been done before in our field. Similar things, perhaps, but not precisely in the field of Archviz. So, when everything started, like few months ago, we realized that without a deadline, we were not going to do anything at all. And actually, I have to thank Javier, who was the one who said, first, we have to define a date to create this event. And that changed it all. So that is sort of a mindset that we have. So first thing that I would like to think about is, are we capable of doing something productive when we don't have a deadline? No, this is something just like to reflect. Can we? So, yeah, well, it's just improvising.
No, I know because according to these lines, Jeff was telling me that he did something similar.
Exactly.
A few years ago. Jeff was doing something similar a few years ago, and he told me, he was telling me, okay, maybe I can give you some hints on how to move forward with this.
Exactly.
It was maybe 8 years ago. We tried almost identical format. Maybe we didn't invite outside people. We brought people in, the top studio owners from all over the world. I think the last one we did in Miami, there was 35 of us from 10 countries. We came to talk about basically every single thing you've spoken about today. We also spoke about. There was one association in New York that had done a very similar thing, started at a barbecue, ironically enough. But they did it in the advertising agency. They wanted to have an association, and so we brought them in to help guide us, because they actually ended up building a successful association. So we wanted them to guide us and tell us what they did correct. So we spent 2 days. We eventually ended up breaking up into teams, and we discussed all of the things that you have discussed, and we created milestones and did the whole 9 yards. And inevitably, what ends up happening, and this is why your comment about deadlines, I think, are absolutely critical. And I think you also have to get people that are very committed to making this work. Because what happens with us, again, these are the top studio owners in the industry, all came, they all have the best intentions, but when you get back to the office, the deadlines come back, and then all of a sudden, all bets are off.
Back to reality, which actually is not reality, it's virtual reality. But anyway, so that's a big fear that I personally have. I mean, what's going to happen tomorrow? Not only with you guys, but also with us, because we've been meeting for the last 6 months, once per week, in meetings that some of them lasted for 3 hours. So it's 3 hours of our time that we were suffering because we had the backside of our brains thinking about the deadline of the job or whatever. So it's been actually a big effort, and well, we'll see what will be the rhythm of meetings after. Probably it needs to calm down a little bit. But yeah, but that would be, all this inertia that we have accumulated, we have to take profit. We cannot let it die. Okay, so I guess that probably maybe we could start by discussing whether it is necessary or not to have some sort of organism that takes care of us all, like a big mother. And that's why I'm just like forwarding this question to you. Do you think we need this? Do you think if you think we need it, do you think it has to be based on a global scale from the very beginning? That represents the reality of our fields, or maybe it's easier, faster, and more, let's say, manageable to do it like geographically wise, like some sort of small cells. What is your point of view about this thing here that we have in our hands?
I think the question to you is, what do you want to accomplish with this group?
I think I've been thinking a lot. Probably I would say try to find a methodology to have or create coordinated actions that go for the benefit of all. So I think the key word is coordinated. That when something's going to happen, we all of us know that this thing is going to happen, and from the day after, whatever it has been decided, everybody will use it in their practice, for example. I don't know which actions should be. Maybe it's just a set of 5 simple actions, because when we're dealing with such different origins and such different situations and companies, maybe it's going to be impossible to make a longer list of things that can be useful for all of us. Maybe it's just a matter of thinking and synthesizing and keeping in that short list. But at least that short list is, it should be the Bible for us. I mean, that's my point of view. I mean, should we create this short list of coordinated actions, and should we keep it for the next future? And should we have an organism that is covering us all, and we can always call it and ask for any sort of help or assistance? Can we have somebody who is impartial when trying to solving internal problems? Because there's a lot of internal problems between companies. We don't have only problems with the outside world. We have problems with competitors that it could be easily get solved if there's somebody within the field that has some sort of role of, in the middle of the way. So I'm not just defending any of the positions that tries to solve that single problem, okay? There's been cases of stealing knowledge, very not nice things, but these things happen, So how can we listen to those conflicts and give them a solution? If I am a company, if I am a firm, how can I assure the person I'm just giving some sort of consultancy that I don't have any hidden interest when I'm giving that person a consultancy? So it should be brought by something that everybody believed that is impartial. That's what I think. I could be speaking for hours, but actually...
Believe me, it's possible.
So yeah, the question was, do we need this? If there's an answer, there's a positive answer, then we could start talking how to build it.
One association, there's one association you can look into, which is the American Society for Architectural Illustrators. They've been around for about 40 years. They were pretty much the original association. So they've tried many things over the years, from advocating for changes in the copyright law in North America as it protects all creative industries. They've had benefits plans so that people could be a member, and depending on the country you're in, you would have benefits and group health, and that's more applicable to North America. They have their own awards. They publish a book that has, very similar to the awards, but the best works, and then they distribute those books to all of the architectural firms in the US and that sort of thing, for promotion for the industry. They have a conference that they do every year. They put on kind of workshops on the side throughout the year. Mm-hmm. But they have struggled, the brink of bankruptcy for most of their existence.
Yeah.
And they are even though they have American in their name, it's a worldwide organization. There's members from Japan and Asia and Canada and US, yeah. But they've struggled to maintain relevance and to try to find a common ground between all of the companies in our industry. Even though we're all doing a very similar thing, there's enough nuance in what we do that really what it turns into is a social club where you don't feel like you're alone. There's others who struggle the same struggles you do. Mm-hmm. And you can have intelligent conversations about those things and get help here and there, but I think trying to really formalize those sorts of things becomes challenging.
So perhaps one of the first things that we should do is just go and talk to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we just made a mistake not inviting somebody from them. We didn't thought about that. Because, I also knew about this association, but actually, in the madness of thoughts and decisions we've made, actually, it never came to my mind that it could be an interesting guest here in this debate, somebody from that association.
Well, in fact, there's one thing that we have invited people from the Architectural Congress, the people from the Colegio de Arquitectos, to come. because they are an association. Es el Colegio de Arquitectos. So it was a nice opportunity for them to explain to us what can you accomplish with an association, with a big association. But unluckily, the architects didn't pay attention enough to these things, so they are not here. So that's a bit our life.
Yeah, the only thing they want from us is that we become a satellite of them. When you meet with the dean of the School of Architects, this is the kind of message that you get.
I would hazard a guess because in order for that association to exist, they require to collect fees, and it's more advantageous for them to collect your fees than...
There has to be a way how this organism should get funded. That's something which is very logical. But for example, money is a very sensitive thing. So when you're asking money to people, you have to really tell them exactly what the money is going for, because I mean every person has a different reality in terms of money. Somebody can have lots of millions in the pocket, and one has just suffering to buy a couple of bananas, you know. So, and we found it in our situation. In fact, this event has been funded by us, but not with the same amount of money. Okay, so that is a reality. And actually, we have to talk about this when this event will be over. How can manage this irregularity if we send it back to some sort of zero or starting point, or we keep it like that? I mean, there's something to discuss. The thing is that when we elaborated this guest list, trying to bring people from corners of the world, we sort of saw what we actually wanted. One of the things we wanted is that you could share with us your realities, because the association, which is not yet an association, by the way, with our group of people, we mostly share similar realities because we're based in Barcelona, and probably the things that we would like to achieve with this are very specific. But by bringing you here, bringing people from Israel, for Northern Italy, people who work in several places in the world, in Eastern Europe, and the UK, and so on, I mean, that is a lot of interesting realities that maybe will let us understand that what we are actually expecting from our association is just stupidities. I mean, maybe we could just go for a higher level of demands. Okay, so I don't know. Taking the fact that Nick has to go quite soon, in just half an hour, maybe we could start with an intervention by him about what do you think about my questions.
What about whether we should set up?
If yes, if no, how?
I guess there's on one level there's there's things like the RIBA, or most sort of countries have a kind of centralized architecture organization, but I mean it's quite a massive mission. That organization has to have kind of power. That you need to they need to control qualifications and regulations within that industry. I guess we're probably quite a long way from that. But I mean, as a kind of interim thing, I think sort of like Jeff, like the GCArchitect website, can act as a kind of as a portal for that kind of thing. So, for instance, like what we were talking about earlier, like legal documents, or even sort of Ronen, your blog, they kind of act as points where people within the industry sort of congregate and discuss ideas. And to an extent, that is what we're talking about. It's just whether that can then expand into something that can control almost like union action, where you're saying that no one's going to sell a visual of a bathroom for less than £1,000 or what. Which
you can't do because that's price fixing and it's illegal in most countries.
Yeah, okay, but like or ways of handling different situations, or But I mean, I'd certainly think the most sort of practical way of starting would be some sort of expansion of a website type forum. So
should we help him do it? No, because GCArchitect.
Yeah, let's take over. Let's take over Jeff's business.
Yeah, but then we'll have to change the name of the website.
Yeah.
I agree on that. No, I mean one of the key success of this thing we're organizing here is that it's based on what every one of us has shared. like without any desire of getting something back in return. Of course, we have our internal desires, but anyway, we've been giving our time, we've been giving something, our resources, our office. I don't know, we've been giving something. So when you get back home, what do you think from your position you would be able to give us or give yourselves and give all of us to this operation?
So can I just add another thing to the?
Yeah.
I guess one way in which we'll sort of formalize our kind of organization is through education, because if there becomes a more kind of formal like standard you need to get to be able to become a kind of architectural visualizer, then that could also become a mechanism for the kind of power of a centralized body. So whoever controls those qualifications could also be the kind of organization that controls the kind of standards within that organization.
Yeah, there are initiatives, private initiatives that are somehow trying to achieve that with all the awards that we have here in our community, but they are private. Or unless this qualifications become public in a way that everybody can intervene, or just we keep them public and do something else. But actually, one of the things that we wanted to achieve with this event, for example, is to not repeat ourselves with something that is already going on in the industry. We didn't want to organize a workshop. We didn't want to organize lectures, series lectures. We don't even wanted to name that was similar to any other name. So actually, we were trying to fill a gap that we exactly don't know yet the shape of that gap. You know, so if there is already somebody that is giving awards, probably maybe it's not our task, from my point of view. Is there something else that nobody has covered yet that could be of help for all of us?
Well, I think first thing is to have an objective. If we don't have an objective, it's really difficult to measure the succeed or failure of the organization itself. So, and we can also expect that we have like the answer. We need to try. We need to make experiments, I believe, for example. We can develop like the minimum thing we can contribute with and try if this changes something or not. So it's my way of thinking. If we can create like little experiments that doesn't cost us so much energy or money or anything, and we can develop like strategies to test if those experiments make a change or not.
What do you think about this workflow that Adán's sharing? What do you think about little experimenting? You think it's...
this is maybe one of the things that we are discussing how to go on. Or the things that we are already doing is just going to do the lectures to the university is one of the ways where we will promote and attract talent, because maybe the people don't know what we do. And with you go there and you spend it these 2 hours. When you go home, you call your clients, where you were? No, I was in the university, and maybe it also works for you, because it sounds nice. It's not that much effort, and it works for all of us. So this is something that is pretty much really small thing, works for you, works for everyone. This is the kind of things, the kind of example, the kind of activities that we can do with really, really small. And how, because if I call the university and hey guys, I'm going to give you a lecture, they say, what the fuck, I don't know who you are. I don't want you to come. But if AVA say, hey, and in AVA, you know, just we are now 28 members, and we know pretty much all the directors of all universities in Catalonia. One or other person know them. So this person can call him and tell, hey, this guy is going to come, are you interested? And they say, yes, they are. In fact, they are. So this is the kind of example of things that we can do. Really small things, work for the community, work for you. And well, this is my approach.
But
yeah.
If we don't have a goal, because in my mind, for example, this can be like a local thing, you know, for example, and some studios that help each other, like a mastermind, and it can work and it can be valuable for the people in the community, or it can be something to change the industry or to help the industry to grow up, to mature in a way we have control of. So I think we need to define the goal, the objective, and then we can measure if those experiments are succeed or not.
So let's define a goal.
My question is this: I think that maybe I'm wrong, but I guess that the main objective that we're talking, all of us here, is trying to make our profession like more reliable, more professional even, or raise the standard. No, I think that's the main objective, or that where we are talking, for example, about photographers. No, it's like we are also a creative community. We want to be like more, have more respect for what we do. Okay, so I think that should be like globally. For me, I think it's like one of the main goals, no? For this, no, and you can get that in several ways, because we talk here about the legal ways, about contracts, about credit, about licensing, things like that. But there are also an important thing that maybe is not been talked so much, but it's like to raise the standards of quality. I mean, if you want to be respected for what you do, it's like an obligation for everybody of us to try to push the boundaries or make it even better, the quality of what we provide. And that is really important also, because if you want to get to be respected for what you do, it has to be...
The feeling of the lack of respect is something that all of us or most of us feel. Because if most of us feel that way, then we have a goal.
Yeah, I think if, I can put it in another way, the same thing is that first, I think define the industry. Because, we're talking about it just on the last talk, you discussed how we call ourselves. And that's the starting point. We are just starting, the whole industry starting to maturing. Knowing things which was not known before, and if the goal is to define more what is Archviz, the whole thing, and communicate to the clients, to the other industries, and show them what is this is about, and finally we can have a name.
So a manifesto.
Yeah.
One thing about the kind of the quality standard that I think is interesting, the quality trademarks, in industry, like I don't know, like Ainor and all this stuff, or construction, they are legally backed. They have like a legal backup for these quality controls to have some prestige. Yeah. So if you don't have this legal backup in that quality thing, it doesn't mean anything for the industry. I think so. So it's kind of very, very difficult, I think, to raise this kind of standard, which is desirable, but it's difficult for me to see this. And this is the thing that I also have thought about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Alberto?
Hola. Well, but all of these proposals are pointing the same thing, and this one of the things that we said at the beginning of our meetings is that to get prestige, okay, if we want to get prestige, we need raise the standards, we need a manifesto, we need to have a legal support. I think that we are in the right way. We want prestige, and we are not going to get this prestige if we are not more professional, if we don't have people with more talent. I think that we are everyone.
So we all agree with this.
No.
Okay. No. That's good.
I think prestige is like a word related to ego. I would rather prefer to talk. That's it. I would rather prefer to talk about working conditions. This is a goal. Prestige for me, it's not for me, it's not important in a sense of what people think, you know.
And I think
What
Luis
people
also
about
thinks
me,
badly
it's
about prestige.
What working conditions they gave me to work.
But it's not about what people think about me. It's what people think about the profession.
Yeah, but
Oh,
when
It's the working conditions at the end. It's like I don't know. It's like a more traditional syndicate thing, and I'm okay with this ambition. Okay, but let's put it like clear. No, it's like about fees, about this thing about license thing. No, so it's
from my point of view,
very
I mean,
specific things. No, that fees, license on images. What else? No, not prestige.
I don't think
like
it's
an
good.
abstract
I don't think it's
thing.
good for
For me,
us
it's very
to.
abstract.
I don't think it's good for us to go and cry at the door of someone. Oh, respect me, please.
That's it.
No,
That's
no.
it.
Okay, we don't need
That's
that.
it. We are not crying. Asking for prestige, I don't know.
The thing that what we have found is that we have to search for one common thing, one thing that we all want. I don't want to talk about fees, and I'm very sure that some of the people here don't want to talk about fees because it's not the thing. So that's the weakness. What we want, all of us, to have more prestige, because if you have a nice prestige, if you are a super skilled professional and they value your work, you will charge your money. You will have to talk about fees anymore. You will have the money.
Okay,
No.
so it's not abstract. It's like working conditions at the end.
No, it's not working conditions. It's if you want this business, improving the business environment.
I think it's.
want to
I think
put-
it's-
We have
I
to
think the-
we have
I
to
think-
find the terms, the right terms, wherever they are. But we
I think
have
the
to
word
find
isn't
the right
prestige. I
term.
think it's professionalism.
Yeah.
Professionalism.
Yeah, I wanted to say also that I think prestige is the wrong word. Because, and I also think that the idea of quality standards and fees and these kind of things is not really the right way to go about it.
I agree.
Because if we're talking about making an organization which is covering a very international base, you can throw that out the window because the fees, I mean, that's... It depends on the client. It depends. I mean, just like when people are saying, I can't tell you how much it costs. I don't know. I mean, it depends on the guy. It depends on what he's going to use it for. It depends on a lot of factors. Time, how fast they want it, how slow they want it.
I think if you're going to talk about fees, the conversation should be industry-wide, talking about how do I arrive at a fee?
Yeah.
You know, how do I set up a balance sheet that shows me my overhead costs and my salaries and what I need to make a certain profit margin. You know,
Yeah, more about business, running a business.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
And also quality is another issue. It's completely subjective. I mean, what I think is an awesome image is completely different to Victor, or what I know that I can sell to a certain client is going to be different than the other client. So those kind of things are a little bit difficult to standardize. I mean, and I actually think standardization is not really what should be the thing. The thing is that if everyone is on board with like the idea of if we act in unison on certain things, like a simple one would be the copyright thing or certain things like that, then it becomes then a standard that people understand that we expect that kind of thing within our work. But trying to say that we can standardize other things, I'm not sure this is not going to really happen now.
Do you agree? Do you agree? Sorry, please.
What is our identity? I think to become an association, we need to define our identity. When you look at the image, we look at it as a photographer and trying to licensing that to get the fees. When we look at the contract, we are acting like as an architect to get the architect's benefits from the contract. But we worked as an artist. And when you look at everyone as a company here or freelancers, everyone has a different name. CGI, image, film, animation, or CG architect, motion. We have different identities. If we don't sum up on the identity, there's no way we can create an association, I think. We have to find out who we are.
I think Nick kind of...
I think that's the problem that we are facing. We need to shape ourselves, who we are. And then we can create an association, we can create the contracts, we can talk about the licensing fees, everything.
I mean, to me, is this working? Is that good?
Sorry.
Yeah.
To me, we all work within the kind of the world of cities and architecture development, and essentially what we're doing is trying to help different people working within that industry communicate with each other. So we're either helping developers attract investors, or sell apartments, or architects explain ideas to governments. But basically everything we do tends to be about helping different bodies of people communicate with each other within that world of architecture and construction. And we should sort of, probably that is the kind of boundary within which we work as a kind of architecture visualization group. But that's just a massive world, which is a good thing, I guess, because we want to be able to occupy quite a kind of, not be kind of restricted within what we do.
Yeah. We could really struggle finding the boundaries of who we are. I mean, it could take ages.
To me, having a name for ourselves, I think, makes us feel better. I don't think the clients really could care less what we call. We could be called render monkeys, and we still deliver the same things. I mean, I think it just makes us feel better. That we're one.
I don't know. I'm not sure if that's true. I think if a client says, "Oh, can we get like a render monkey?" there is like within that there is a kind of implicit idea about what relationship they're going to have with that person. Whereas if they say, we need, we're building this master plan, who's going to help us communicate with all these different people? It means they're expecting that company is going to add value to that. In the same way that if you bring an architect, or you don't bring an architect, or if you bring all these different sort of trades, they know that by getting these different people involved in their project, they're going to increase their kind of stake within the thing. I guess there's a kind of perception that within Archviz we're a service industry, and all we do is just come along, perform quite a sort of perfunctory technical role, and then kind of leave, and we're kind of interchangeable, rather than knowing us as people that really kind of add value to the project as a whole. I guess in the way, if they say, "Oh, we're going to get an architectural communications agency," they're probably expecting to get greater value out of that than they would do if they're saying, "Let's get an Archviz."
But to me, that's more like a, what do we call the field versus what do we call ourselves individually? Like the field as a whole, which I think is,
Guys,
you're right.
Allow me for one sec.
Sorry, I was holding the mic, but I didn't want to interrupt anyone. I just want to say I'm a freelancer here. I studied architecture and then work on this, I guess, as most of us. And my point of view as working as by my own for different architecture studies is like a very diverse situations in many architecture offices, especially here in Spain, the construction crisis we had these years, and I guess all of us found hard contracting situations, some projects that we didn't get the money, things like that. And by my own, I mean, I'm totally terrible with the legal things and the taxes, and for example, legal forms to make a budget or things like that. I'm totally lost. And for example, like talking about copywriting, things like that, I think it's a good step for making our position more professional. That I think that one thing we have to do is becoming more professional in a legal way, like contracting and making proper budget forms, things like that. Mm-hmm. That I think that some of us may need as a legal advice, and I don't know if I'm getting
no,
the American
do you think that the profile?
I think that AVA, yeah. I think that AVA, in my case, would be like a lighthouse to consult this kind of information.
The American Society of Architectural Illustrators has all of templates, not things you're just going to take and immediately use, but guidelines and templates for all of those things you described.
Things like that. Because, for example, if I do a small project that lasts for 3 days, for example, should I do a contract or only with that form? Things like that. That's becoming professional.
There's another book, I wish I could remember the name now. It's been around for probably 30 years. It's really wide, narrow, about this thick, but it covers all creative fields from graphic design to painting and stuff, and it gives you an idea of how each one of those industries works and how you should approach contracts and clients and whatnot. And we worked with that group, I want to say 5 years ago, to add visualization and architectural visualization to that, and we had a number of people from the industry contribute to that. But I'll give you the name of the book,
sure,
and maybe
sure.
you can pass it on to everybody.
Definitely.
But that book has a lot of the information that you're talking about is contained within that book for many creative fields.
Mm-hmm. Patricio.
Yeah, hello? Hola?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before to come here.
Sorry. Okay. First of all, wait a minute. We just have to say farewell to Nick Taylor. He has a plane back to London, so please giving a strong applause for his introduction.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we hope to meet back again soon.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for getting me here.
Okay. Okay, well, the thing is somehow starting to end, it's sad. Okay, please, resume.
Yeah, before to come here, I was thinking a little bit about what is basically the mission of this organization. And the first time when you contacted me, I said, well, this is really what you would like to do? So I was starting to think myself, okay, so because a couple of years ago, like Jeff did in US, in North America, we did it in Argentina, and we called AVA. So, okay, so we were
exactly the same.
Exactly the same name.
Well, we were not in the wrong direction, actually.
So in Argentina, we have, so probably it's registered, but an Argentinian, okay, so anyway. But learning from the past experiences, and unfortunately, it failed, okay? And from previous experiences, the first thing that I would like to bring it here, because you are trying to do roughly the same thing, okay? Jeff has some experience, I have some experience. In my personal opinion, the first thing is that there's a certain leadership that someone must be accountable for this. Okay, so if we are going to do this, first of all, we need to choose, okay, at least one voice that is going to be the final voice, because this cannot be a democracy base, because the part that are going to lose in the discussion and starting to lose in a row in 3 discussions are going to be naturally banned from the organization. So first thing is to choose one leader that at the end, if that is 50-50, he's going to be the one, and we are going to be all together following that direction. The second thing is that this cannot be pro bono. That is another thing. That is always difficult, because what should I charge if I'm going to do something like this, or not, or whatever. But the fact is that there's going to be a cost involved. You like it or you don't like it, okay, but are going to be there. So I try to be a very practical guy and always try to find a game plan, okay? And I was thinking what it can be, the game plan. So several of you came here with several concerns, royalties, legals, procedures, should I hire a new guy? Do I send contracts? Should I charge invoice? Anything. So one of the things that I was paying a lot of attention, and I think that it can be a business model that we can apply here, if you would like to, and you voted, that is the crowdfunding business model. Crowdfunding can be something interesting. I don't know how many of you, raise your hand, understand what is a crowdfunding. How many of you know Kickstarter, just to say something? Okay, Kickstarter, for the ones, because the majority don't know what is crowdfunding. Basically, is that someone tried to do something, okay, put an idea, and after that, they have different levels of rewards. and you set a milestone. If you achieve that milestone, the project is alive. Otherwise, it's not going to pass that stage. So for the 20 guys who has been spending a lot of time, okay, one of the things that I would like to avoid is that to spend more time, okay, in something that maybe is not going to end in something real. So I think that one of the possibilities is to set up a crowdfunding. And what it can be the projects. Okay, first, okay, what is after the leadership and the topics, we can set up, okay, let's plan what are the main 5 features that we think that we need to discuss. I don't know. Suddenly it's legal, royalties, and collection, just to say something, okay? So, for example, I didn't participate in the previous conversation, but one of the topics was about royalties and charging, you can sue, okay, for your client. But every time that you really want to do that, we can, as an organization, get a project, get enough funds, and get them enough money to pay an attorney that for them, basically, is a copy-paste case, that in each case, as is, we need to pay ourselves in each case independently. But if we funded the organization in this way, probably, if that is something that you believe that is good, okay, let's say, how much money do we need in order to have this? I don't know, 15,000 euros or 35,000, whatever it is, okay, the milestone. And we will see truly how real is our interest in that matter. Okay? Yeah. So that is a very good way for you guys, that the ones who are spending the time, who pay our tickets and accommodation to come here. I think that it can be very helpful to, first of all, really see if there's something else there, and we are willing to support literally with money. So that might be, if we can get, okay, the milestone, the projects, okay, we are going to use all the resources that we have in the industry in order to get the answer for that, and we get the money in order to fund those projects. It means that there's something real here. But if we cannot get any funding for any of the 5 projects that we set up, it means that basically we are not in the stage to have something like this. Exactly. And we deserve what we have.
Yeah,
so.
Totally agree. Yeah, well, I think it's an excellent idea. You know, you get the money back. You have totally money back guarantee. So if it's not working, I mean, you the same in the beginning.
If you can fund the project, risk. And you literally, there's a real interest. They are real interest. Because all of us are having a real interest. But one thing is to have a real interest, and okay, I will support this, putting my credit card on a website, okay, and pay whatever it needs in order to have the project succeed. After that, if that is happening, that leadership shouldn't not be pro bono, because it's going to take so much responsibility, and we are going to start delegating so much responsibility to that person, okay? That person is good at the beginning, probably because he's still in business, okay, and he's not going to ban all his clients in order to start doing something like this, or maybe yes, I don't know, okay? That person should be paid for that.
Sure.
And how? With some funds that probably the first project should be this project. Oh, okay, so this person is going to earn, and we estimate this cost for the first for the first year operations, and based on that, that can be my project number 1 to be addressed, and we can get funding for that. I think that is a baby step, but at the same time, it's a pretty secure to know exactly where are we right now.
Interesting. What do you think about this proposal?
Put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
I think it's
the simple takeaway. I agree completely with that. The only thing I would add is it seems like it might be more realistic to have like a board as well, like of a few people, so that you have a little bit of a leadership which is a little bit more diluted. But I was going to say, it's after seeing how many people were involved in making this happen, this is like a miracle that it happened, because we have 3 people that organized the conference, and I mean, it's unbelievable. Like just with 3 people, like what you have to go through to make decisions. So I'm actually surprised, amazed. Yeah, you guys did a great job. But yeah, anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. You could add this kind of element where you have, I mean, those people. I mean, you can't say, okay, we can't pay 5 people, but in some way to have a little bit of a dilution of that responsibility at the top. So it's not just, I mean, maybe there's one person who's the top of it, but they at least have some way to consult with some other people as a backup to make decisions. So.
You can bring your microphone closer.
Maybe can be elected, someone you can present yourself to be president, for example, and you can be voted from the members of the organization. I don't know.
There is one thing that it's difficult for a lot of things that we are proposing, and it's that first there is no standardized education around architectural visualization. No, this is maybe related to other things that we were talking, but from this point, there are like the next steps are that there is also a standardized profession or normative backup to this. So, for example, who votes? Because I was thinking in the analogy of architecture associations, no? And it's architects that can vote, not only architects that are in the register in the association.
Many architects think about the Architects Association here that it's just a bunch of bureaucrats.
I think that's a commonly held thing around the world.
We should, if we go somewhere in any direction, we should avoid becoming bureaucrats.
Yeah, but also remember that a lot of that is nationalized a little bit. Like, what I mean is that the AIA, for instance, in the United States, that's voluntary. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be a part of the AIA, you pay the fee to be a part of the AIA, and you get the benefits of it. But you don't have to be in it. In other, I mean, I know how it is in Austria. You become a registered architect by taking the oral exam, and then the next thing you do is pay the chamber. Yeah, that's like, so basically getting the registration means you are required to pay the chamber, and that's something which we're talking about a voluntary organization. So, I mean, becoming bureaucrats, yeah, I guess it could if it went on long enough, but it's not, what I mean is it's not required. So if someone doesn't like it, they don't have to be in it. I mean, we want everyone, it would be better for everyone to be in it.
Mm-hmm. However, bureaucracy, I mean, it has some, from my point of view, some usual functionalities, which it goes well with diplomacy, I think. Most of diplomats are bureaucrats. So maybe a little bit of bureaucracy should be in terms of, foreign affairs, having relationship with other institutions. There must be some embodiment of whatever we want to dress. You know what I mean?
There is something that maybe following what Patricio was saying, I would really like to go to my home today with some proposals for these milestones, because I'm not coming from you, it's coming from you, because of course I want your ideas also, but I mean, if we want this to work, we need the people there, and you both, because you are going to be like the voice, I don't know how to say that, the speaker of the thing. But the real power is right there. So I really want to ask you, what do you think is a good milestone? And if we go home with 4 or 5 ideas, that's what in fact, is one of the things that we wanted from this day. So can you please, someone?
Well, yeah, at least
Let me ask you something.
Yeah, Patricio, please.
Some basic. I'm very basic. In some cases, I really. In my case, I try to simplify the equation to the minimum expression, and after that, I'm going to start with a very straightforward question. How many of you are willing to pay 5 euros a month, okay? Or just raise your hand. Just I wanted to know, because I wanted to know at this point how realistic it might be, truly. Because if we can get, after this, okay, 22 euros Okay, it's a wishing list, lovely wishing list, but it's not going to happen. And in that case, if that is the situation, guys, I like the idea, but it's not going to happen. Do not waste your time.
I think the other question too is, maybe, I like your idea of the crowdfunding, but, maybe you deliver these 5 things, but if you're going to have a recurring revenue, you need to keep delivering value to these people. So what is that value on a long term?
Absolutely. That is why you need to, first of all, let's start with something that we can measure, basically, because without measuring this, it's not going to happen. When you set up a milestone, what you put was a north. You set up a north and you set up an objective. Here in this case, I think that the new objectives might be something like this one. And honestly, don't be afraid. Just raise your hand. I would like to test a quick test because we have a big group here.
Please,
so
please raise your hand.
Just to say, raise your hand if you are willing to pay €5 a month. Okay, so, well, I assume that we are. So, no, just to do a quick number because...
Okay, so let's raise a number, €10.
Yes, well, it's a bit, but anyway. Anyway, but what Jeff said is real, okay? Because if you are going to sponsor a project, you really would like to get it back, okay? Because this is not a donation. You can sponsor Greenpeace if you would like to, okay? But in this case, this is something that we believe is the source of income for all of us who are sitting this side and that side. So I think that we need to have a very clear objective. Of course, there's going to be a wish list of 300 topics, okay? Let's choose the ones that we believe that are more voted. We can vote, okay, and said, okay, this and this and this were the 5 top topics that the people would like to see. We can prepare a project. We can create a funding, okay? And let's see if we can fund it. After that, we will know exactly where we are.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be so worried about trying to come away today with those 5 things. I mean, you've organized this event. You know what people have discussed. Make that list, push it out to everybody, and get them to vote on it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe we could go that way. I mean, we have an interesting opportunity today to think about what we would like to achieve. So I don't know. Maybe if somebody can just deliver some sheet of paper and if somebody of you want to write down things, I don't know, just maybe at the end of the debate we will have a paper with interesting proposals. Could you say your name, please?
Ignacio.
Okay.
Yeah, so regarding the ideas for the milestones, I think that the architectural associations through the world, I don't know the rest of the world, but in Spain at least, it's very easy to demonize them, but they still have some good things. And one of the good things that maybe we can look at is the recommended cost for things. Like, okay, we don't have to say that we have to charge €600, 6,000 euros, 60,000 euros for something. But we can say what you were talking about before. You have to think about what it costs for you to make it, like a guideline to get to that. And all these kind of guidelines about the profession nowadays and what it takes to make the image and to make the bills and the legal cost and everything. So like some kind of documentation for everybody to have it, and also to inform architectural offices what it means to actually create these images. So some kind of also education for architectural offices to, I don't know, let them know what it takes and what it means to actually create the images. So talking about the prestige or whatever, so they can respect the work we do, and they are aware that they cannot ask for changes like the very last minute, for example. These kind of things could be, like, I don't know exactly how to do it, but maybe
so
try
we could
to think
just work
about some way of make every architectural offices through the world or in this country, I don't know, to be aware of these kind of things.
So maybe we could just start working on a document,
maybe,
which is something, I mean, we just need to think, not we need to do anything else, just share a file.
Also, do you guys have a budget idea? What I mean is, if we're talking about raising money and that people need to pay to be a part of it, which makes sense, because if somebody's having to do this stuff for free, eventually it's going to die like you said, you know. But if you have an idea yourselves, you don't have to make it public, but what is it going to cost to do something like that, you know? Like to have, because, you know, you have costs. If you have a website, you have costs. You have, even if it's just incidental things, it's got to cost something.
I think it's hard to quantify, because when it's about thinking of something, you know when you start thinking of something, but you don't know when you finish. So, I mean, how can you quantify the time spending for the thought? I mean, we don't know how to make a website, and we could quantify maybe, I don't know, several hundred euros. But what's the content of that?
Yeah, but the start is the fixed cost. There's fixed costs for things. Yeah,
I think
I realized the thought. I mean, because actually you could say that then we should pay everybody, because maybe everybody was thinking about it one time. You know, what I mean is it's of course the person who's in charge or the board or something, they may be compensated for thinking about it. But
I think that maybe the key thing, one of the key things, would be like trying to create some sort of a repository of intelligence. You know, because now we've been somehow. People are saying, it's talking in terms of what can I find? Oh, I mean, he was looking for some certain information, but actually I would like to know what you can offer as well. You know, so it's in both directions. I mean, if we could just have some space where people can throw away their...
I think that role is played already by the numerous community websites that exist, you know, specifically what you're talking about there.
Of course. Of course. So if it already exists, and how come we still where we are? Yeah. There's millions of groups in Facebook and.
But I think the goal of community sites is not to create an association as much as it is to advocate for the industry and set up a platform to share knowledge, and a platform to. Elevate the industry and elevate certain individuals that are talented at the craft.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think their role, at least traditionally, has not been what you're talking about with an association.
Yeah. Maybe because the members of those groups, maybe they don't need it. They just need these groups because they're useful for them. But maybe they haven't got yet the feeling or the need of being part of something else. You know, maybe they can continue to work on their own, and they're okay like that. You know, so maybe we should. I like the word you use in a website, evangelize. You know, maybe it's a matter of continuing with the evangelization. Actually, I'm very curious. When we were starting this conversation, and you were sharing with us your experiment 9 years ago, what happened in the end? I mean,
well, and I think this is why I really find Patricio's idea fascinating, because I'm assuming the same reason the one you tried in Argentina died was because of the lack of
well, it was a guy
follow-through.
It was a guy from 3D Empire that they used to do very good renderings in Argentina, but those days, and they came to us and said, well, this is an idea. The seed is exactly the same, okay? It's a copy. And it was very clear at the beginning that, of course, the industry is the same, but in certain way, we failed to address the asymmetry that it has the industry, because each one of us is different. When you are talking of a 50 employees company and another one of 15, or another one that is a freelance, or you are an employee. So technically, we are in different stages.
There's so
and
many
when
nuances.
we try to put all of us as equals, basically we failed to do it properly, assuming that we have certain asymmetries and with different interests, basically.
Yeah.
So that is something that I believe that learning from failed experiences, it might be good. Leadership.
One of the things, at least in the efforts we tried, we recognized those same asymmetries, and we decided consciously that it would be, at least in the beginning, an association that was geared towards companies that had been in the industry for at least 10 years and, had a certain level of professional knowledge and experience, only because there was far more similarities between that group to be able to have those types of discussions. Because the discussions you have as a visualization company with 100 people doing $15 million a year is very different conversation you have with a freelancer who works out of their house. So to have although there are similarities, it's a different discussion. You have a much different discussion between those types of people. So I think you have to decide.
Yeah, so you think that these asymmetries may be something very difficult to deal with?
I think so.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's difficult, but I think that it can be possible if we acknowledge that and we work over the assumption. So you have two options. You fight against or you assume the responsibility, and this is the reality. If we do not address that, I think that it might be difficult because people are going to starting to be complaining, okay? And complaining each other that, well, this is not important, well, this is much more important. No, this is absolutely a waste of money, this is not what I expected. And suddenly, because the voice of a negative feedback is, you guys know better than me, okay? Ron and Jeff, okay? How important it is to have. That is why Facebook are trying to avoid the finger down, okay? So it's so powerful. So, but unfortunately, those kind of things are going to happen. And that is why it's important to address the problem from the beginning. This is the assumption. We are different, we have different situations, we have asymmetry,
But
and we need to address that.
Same happens with architecture. I mean, they're like freelancers and big firms, and they are all under one same umbrella. So, I mean, if it works for them, why it shouldn't work for us?
But I think, to Jason's point earlier, though, the reason those associations exist primarily, although they've evolved over the years, was licensing. I mean, that's why those.
So
boards
no
exist.
license, no association.
Well, no, I mean, it's there's
I'm not advocating for a license by any
Victor,
stretch.
do not forget that some of those organizations have 80, 100 years.
Yeah.
Okay? When they started, they were a bunch of guys like this room. Okay? How many registered architects had Spain 150 years ago? Okay, some
Yeah, actually, there
organizations
were
weren't
no
there.
architects.
So probably, of course, if we were all the guys in the industry, that we are not, okay, it could be easier. They started 80, 100 years ago, okay? So right now, they are established because, as you said, okay, this is something that we would like to improve the working process, or what was the other word that we were discussing? Prestige, okay?
Professionalism.
The prestige. Those are things that are the result of something that you did before.
So maybe.
Anyway,
But
sorry.
also, don't forget that those organizations are also serving like a public safety function.
Yeah. Nobody
because
dies if
an
a rendering
architect
doesn't get done right.
You know, if you the reason you have to get a license as an architect is because you are creating
Someone can
things
die.
where you have an actual legal responsibility for the lives of people. Let's say. I mean, we don't necessarily. Maybe I don't know, we don't have that
Well,
responsibility.
depending on the 3D rendering that
you
you
know.
provide a customer, he can get a heart attack.
Yeah.
So there might be some
I
responsibility.
have a question.
Sure, please.
I just want to mention that I'm already paying some kind of subscription for my lawyer that making my contracts, and I have some woman that making paperology work. So I think this kind of subscription for some professional advice, it's much better than my lawyer don't have a clue about what am I doing at all. So I think it will be much better.
Could you describe your practice a little bit more precisely, like size?
I'm the owner of architectural visualization studio, 14 employees. So, and other stuff is about subscription. It may be good to have 2-level subscription. Maybe first subscription for some freelancers, maybe lower the price, and higher subscription for bigger offices. Or so with different stuff, they can, for example, lower subscription maybe just use the advices, and maybe higher subscription can vote for some kind of president or representative or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Only 2.
And maybe
No, because
more.
we've been talking about asymmetries, and probably there are many more profiles.
Of course.
Maybe instead of 2 should be, I don't know, 6 or 7. I don't know.
And one more stuff, I'm paying subscription from digital imported radio, €5 per month. So, and it just removed the advertising from the music. So I think it can be professionally much higher.
Okay.
Just on that legal side, lawyers are licensed to a bar in specific states, specific countries, specific provinces. So to hire one lawyer that could speak to all of the different countries wouldn't be possible. I was just speaking to one the other day about, well, many times over the years, about doing a contract for our industry, and they're comfortable to write it for the state where they're licensed to the bar, but they won't do it for anything outside of that because they're not legally allowed to.
Sorry, I don't want to say ugly things about lawyers, but I think the solution not to hire lawyers. It's just, you know, they counted their hours, and that's not really good thing. It's, what I think is that, you know, it doesn't matter if what kind of lawyer you're doing that contract, but the content, the creation of that contract, what is the idea behind it.
The themes, there's certain types of clauses you need, not the exact clauses, I think.
Yes, and why are you doing that? Like, whenever I deal with a lawyer, I have to bring the, you know, what I want to do and explain him. Otherwise, he will do really long hours work not doing what I want. So, and this is, you know, something which is much more valuable than you know, creating, I don't know, contract templates, because it won't work.
One of the things when we had met in this group, all of the people in that group agreed to share their contracts because, like I said before, most of these contracts read as a history of all of the mistakes they made. So although there are very boilerplate clauses that are in every contract, regardless of their context, most of the clauses that are important to us are those mistakes. So it's more important to figure out what those mistakes everybody's made and build, you know, when you go to your lawyer and say, look, I need this worded for where I live or what country I'm in. But these are the important things that you need to factor into this contract.
I 100% agree. Sorry.
Hello. I have a question for the 20 rather than the panel. Have you considered a professional code of practice for the association?
Javier?
Well, in fact, we did consider this professional code of conduct, and I guess there's something, I'm not really sure, maybe someone here, Nick is gone, but this thing that they have in London, where you kind of like sign the images that is going to look exactly like you are doing. I don't know, but this coding is quite hard. So in what sense do you imagine it?
Well, it could be things. It could be things like ensuring that you're paying minimum wage or meeting the government requirement on employing people, or only using licensed software. All of the things that give you credibility to your clients as well.
It's a professional code of conduct, really.
And by doing that, you're going to set a minimum rate at which people can charge their images out at as well, because if they're meeting all those requirements, they're going to have the costs that mean that they have to charge a certain amount for their work.
Yeah. Well, I think it should be something like this, right? Because this is a reality that is actually hurting us a lot, more than even we think. You know, the legal software is a very tough reality. So yeah, making some sort of a overview. We're talking about projects. Maybe we can just try to, I don't know, decide on whether something that has been spoken in this debate, could we actually just choose it? For example, can we really decide on creating a platform to collect ideas and to set milestones and create crowdfunding, initiatives? I mean, could we? You think it should be our next step, for instance? I'm asking to ourselves. Yeah.
Let's make a platform and
Okay.
I think let's make it easy. I mean, that would be cool to make a huge WhatsApp group, but it's too much. Let's make a simple website, the same AVA website, and make a list of the things that we spoke today and rethink about this and simplify them to bigger ideas that help us to define what's our goal and vote for this in like a forum. I don't know, but let's.
Now my next question is, who is doing it?
Yeah.
That's a bit the fun. No, I'm kidding, but that's a bit the thing with the fundraising and
yeah,
with
that's
the time.
a question.
But it's a good question. Is there anyone here that can do this in like 3 or 4 hours? It's not that much time. Maybe this is the first contribution to our work.
With every single action that we had to do, we ask in the group, in the meetings, who wants to do it. And I mean, it was hard to find a person who wanted to be in charge of that certain action. So actually, this is a reality. This is a very, very hard reality, to get commitment. So I don't know. I would like to hear if maybe Gianpiero and Ronen, back on the edge of this debate, if you have something to say. You're being too silent all the time.
Yeah, I've been listening mostly. I think that you really have to be honest with yourself, you as organizers and everybody here in the crowd, if you really want to push this forward. So the crowdfunding idea is a perfect idea to do it, and I think the next step is to actually do it. Okay, so you have here the opportunity of gathering all the ideas that were raised today. I spoke with Victor before in the break, and I told him that the next thing you should do is just get everybody on a email list, like a newsletter of AVA, okay, and start a series of emails to follow up this event and to gather the ideas into kind of like a single point of knowledge. So you should vote on what you like to do first. And you should just start doing it. Now, I wouldn't go the way that you kind of like suggested now. I think it's much simpler. For me, it would be much simpler to pay a fee instead of raising a hand and saying, I will do the website, and someone else would say, I will do that.
Totally.
Okay, so just make it simple. You gather a fee, and you pick someone who's professional at doing a website. Okay,
I think
and that will work much better, I think, in my mind.
Yeah, if you can't raise the funding to even do that, then what's the point of the rest?
What's the point? You know.
Yeah.
So just
but there's something happening. I think that most of us, maybe we can agree on that. Is that we like to brag on how the muscles that we have in our bodies. I mean, we are people who are used to react to act. We get demands and we respond. So in a way, we always been doing things. And actually, maybe it's, and I'm agreeing with you, we should stick to using our brains only. In anything that we should go forward, there shouldn't be nobody from us doing the tasks. We should just hire somebody. Because actually it will be probably more professional and reduce ourselves just to think, which is quite, complex in its own way. I mean, do you all agree with this form of functionality, just like living ourselves the single task of thinking and the not doing? I mean, it could be understood as maybe the first rule for the days and the years to come, to not do anything else with our own hands, just decide to think. Do you agree with these procedures?
I think someone should be paid. It's important. If you are spending time even thinking about something, I think it's important you get paid.
Yeah, this always. That's why we're saying to hire somebody to do something. But for example, one question. Thinking should not be paid, or thinking should be paid?
In my opinion, thinking it's maybe one of the most important things. Yeah. So it must be paid.
Should be paid. Who pays for thinking?
Because it's going to be expensive. It's $100,000, remember?
So, I mean, you think you find appropriate to ask for money to let us think for some days and weeks? No. I mean, just
should be in the crowdfunding in the project itself.
okay. So we create a crowdfunding to let us think.
Not let us think.
No,
Think
it's
with
not
a
thinking. I
purpose,
mean, it's for,
you know?
time dedicated to managing this kind of project. I mean, you can say that the head of this AVA organization is a voluntary position for a specific amount of time, and then you have to step down, and another one is stepping in. So you could either pay for that, you can pay maybe a symbolic amount for that, or not at all. But it's kind of like a rotation, okay? And the next one in line is going to be decided upon by members of the community. Okay, so.
But sorry to say, but you know, if you want like real kind of valuable persons on, let's call it on board, then you have to pay them. It's really simple. I'm just setting up the shareholder company for Brick, and I have to pay for certain amount of money for board being there and give me advice every quarter, every 3 or 4 months.
But you have a very specific and precise ways to certify that somebody is good.
Yeah.
But how, for instance, should we convince or set people who should pay those who think that these people are good to think? I mean, they don't know us, and nobody knows us, and nobody knows this exact. But you have your ways to recognize a good professional, because actually this is a totally different thing. But in this case, how can you know that one person is good enough to think and give him money?
That's the first step to figure out. I have no idea.
That's getting.
But I want to add to that. I actually think that this will be a very hard thing to do immediately right now. I think you guys need to, after this, you need to think about it again. We all seem to be on board with it, but the thing is that there needs to be a little bit more fixed idea of what it's going to provide to people. And not only that, if you're going to do crowdfunding or collect a fee for that, I mean, I think, what is it here? Probably mostly everyone's Spanish. I don't know. How many people are from Spain here? Yeah. The next thing is maybe you go have a second meeting like this in another place, somewhere else, because without getting like you said, nobody knows who we are. But if you go to another place, I mean, there are already people for sure who know what's going on here, because I've posted stuff. Everybody here's posted stuff about where we are and so on. And that's been already reached out quite a large area, Yeah. But then that's the next step, is to utilize that to get even more people on board with this idea, and because you're going to need to get a lot of people on board paying a fee to be a part of it in order for it to work.
So I'm going to make a sensitive question. I mean, I'm buying you this what you're offering. So, for instance, there would be a space, like 10 minutes space in your event or in your event for this sort of project. Because actually, I mean, we need. No. I'm just going straight ahead to the thing. I mean, we've been one of the key success of this sort of story is that everybody was sharing something, and we didn't have to ask it to nobody. So, when I'm actually asking you, if you would share some of your space generously to let us spread the word in your respective audiences.
Absolutely.
Okay, we
For
have.
me, I can say yes.
I can say yes too.
Okay. Thank you so much.
But I need to talk to my partners.
Sure.
And my wife.
Okay, so well, that's pretty good news, because
I can say
we have a comfort. No, yes, of course. We have like 100 people witnessing that we have a confirmation that well, but really, I'm feeling overwhelmed, because I'm aware of the efforts that you've made to raise your audience and the time invested, and actually giving us some space in your events. Actually, it's an amazing thing, definitely. So, if we go on with this, I think that on behalf of the people we are in AVA right now, we would be very thankful. Well, so I don't know, how can we continue? I mean, is there any way to continue? I mean, is there something left that we should discuss? So you think it's yeah, I mean, yeah. What do you think?
Thank you.
Let me introduce you, Francesco. Francesco is another member of AVA, and he is pretty much connected with all the associative and legal stuff. He's been helping us in that way all these months. Please.
Perfect. Thank you, Victor. I totally agree with what Patricio said before. Crowdfunding, it's a great idea, and understanding the differences of the possible participants of this association, it's one of the main concepts or one of the main ideas that we should address, since there are a lot of people here from different kind of participants. I would like to ask, it's clear to me that there is a difference, or the people that is in the public and us as organizers have some incertitudes, some doubts that have been clear during the whole day, like licensing and legal advice, but it's not clear to me what could you get, the guys that were invited from this association. I would like to know what would be your interest in participating in the association to address it as, well, as a goal to achieve. It's a question for all.
Very interesting, thank you.
I guess it's like, or at least in our case, we're in the same boat. I mean, the only thing is maybe some of us have some more or less expertise or years of expertise, but we face several problems that are the same, maybe at a different scale or whatever, but the problems are there. So, for example, some guy told before that he was a little lost, no, in legal terms or things like that. And I wish when I started I had something or some, because there are obviously databases such as your blogs and other things that are related and some in the majority in some other topics, no. But those practical things, or how to solve some difficult situation with a client or things, I wish I'd had something like that. Obviously, I had to learn it by, sticking my face with the door. And obviously, the thing is, yes, we can profit also this, and the idea is that, because maybe it's a difference of a scale or of years working on this, but in the end, those problems happen to everybody. And I guess.
Would you like to be treated from now on as some sort of a committee of wise people? So no, please think it seriously, because if you say yes, we will be bombarding you with questions every day or every second day. But you would like to be treated like that, because I think that the choice of the people that is here in this event is not being like something casual. We chose you because we know who you are and we want to keep you somehow next to us. We all are aware that you are very busy people. So, but we would like to somehow go home with some sort of feeling that we can count on you, in a very just like simple way. I mean, we would like to maybe keep you as the first council or the first set of brains, that can somehow help us keep on going. What do you think? Would you like to be treated like that?
Well, I think essentially it's a question that you don't need us to answer, because it's kind of like given. For me, at least, it's part of my own mission. So, I mean, I answer emails and offer advice on a daily basis, a few times a day. So, for me, it's just part of what I do. And obviously, I would be more than willing to help and to establish this thing. I think it's the same with the rest of us here. But the main thing is that you drive that thing, and we can help you accomplish that. So it's kind of like a collaborative thing.
Mm-hmm. Nice word. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, well, maybe there's somebody here in the audience who wants to have some question. Okay, we have one here, one guy here. And we will be entering the end of the debate.
I have that the importance of being part of an association is that everybody feels like it's important for everybody to be associated, and we are proud of form that association. And I don't think the asymmetry between big companies and the small ones it's a problem, because if we could in this summit achieve 3 goals, small goals, and we can next year make them bigger. But if we can work for all the industry, also the small and the biggest, we all we have the profit. But I think it's important to focus in 2, 3 goals, small goals, and rather than thinking what will be. I think it's more important that if this platform will be somewhere that we can share our files, we can give advice to everybody legally, but not only that. But I think that achieve 2, 3 goals and start working. I don't mind to work if in 3 years I will say I'm proud of form Architectural Visualization Association.
Wow.
And also the clients could see that we belongs to AVA or whatever it calls. But it's important to start from here with small goals, but to keep running, not thinking, doing. I think it's important. I really don't mind whatever their goals are, but to focus in something and go straight for it and keep going.
Okay, what's your name?
Francisco.
Francisco, thank you. Well, should our customers begin to be scared of us?
I don't think so. Some of them. Maybe some of them.
Maybe some of them.
They shouldn't.
They should be?
They shouldn't.
I repeat that, they should look for a visualizer who is a member of your organization. That's the sort of reputation you want to achieve. When they look to outsource, they should be looking for someone that's part of the AVA.
But I don't think it's a matter of fear. What I mean with this, but I mean, it's, but I mean, it's like trying to improve the way of doing things. It's just that. It's not a matter that they should be, oh, these guys are in this association, oh, be careful, what happened here? This is changing, we're going to be fucked up. It's not that. I think it's like more a thing of, let's try to improve and do the things better.
Yeah.
Improve
Patricio?
I think that fear comes from different perspective. And I believe that if they feel, let's say, architectural firms feel that this is going to be a union, okay, they will be against us. But if we are very clear about communication of terms of, we would like to organize and standardize certain procedures. So I think that, of course, there's going to be a long run, but I prefer to set up the star, okay, what it might be my star, that is my personal opinion about this. Of course, I would like to have a strong global association, okay, that can set up certain standards, because we are dealing with the same problems in different scales, but basically are the same. It can set up at least, or being a reference that can be adapted to each different country, because legally, just to say something, I proposed the crowdfunding idea, but technically we don't know how it is, the procedure of legal collecting money here in Spain through a crowdfunding that is an organization that is not filed yet. So those kind of things are going to pop up. guys. So I think that at the beginning, what Ronen said about having this professional website or communication is part of the process at different stage. But I think that at the beginning, we are far away of that, of having that. First of all, we need to know exactly where we are, and I think that the first thing is that to create a platform that might be very simple to manage. We can use Wix, we can use whatever it is, okay? To create a certain point where we can drop ideas, we can start a list. Certain day we can vote. We can choose 5. That is not going to, you guys, you are not going to spend too much time working on that thing. I think that, of course, working locally will empower because it's going to be easier for communication purpose. Once that you have that information, okay, from the web, everybody voted, okay? At the beginning, it's going to be an open vote. If we can empower, sorry. If we can empower that with media, okay, Ronen, Jeff can boost that information. They had the reference here. So, of course, that will bring a new players around the world, that they can use the Spanish case as the main study case, learn from the previous experiences, and we can set up the goals, the first goals. We voted, it's going to be open for everyone. You have the top 5, okay? After that, okay, we are going to start, okay, the process. We will do whatever it needs to be done in order to have legally the possibility to be funded.
Okay.
It's probably a stupid thing, but believe me, it was one of the hidden costs when I came to Spain.
Yeah.
So,
before the first
anyway.
year, we have to put the key in the machine. Yeah?
Exactly. So you need to have a certain formal way that it costs money, okay, probably for that purpose, okay. There's going to be a seed capital that must be addressed at the beginning without the crowdfunding. It can be done this first step without a minimum seed funding from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. So once that it has the funds, we can create that. We can put the list. We can have the 5 objectives. We can create the crowdfunding. And after that, if we achieve those, okay, let's review what is the outcome. Because, of course, all of us that we were the sponsors of that crowdfunding, we would like to see how really transform in the purpose of we set up. I think that after that, we can plan further steps, but it's a very aggressive, only that.
You know, this way of proceeding is actually, it's not new. You know, the Russian Tsars, they organized bride shows. So there was committees of people who were just picking girls from virgins from all over the country, and Russia was a very big country, and there was a selection process, and finally they ended up with 5 girls, and they sent them to the Tsar, and the Tsar made his final choice. So there's a process of selection that ended up with the top 1. You mentioned Ronen and Jeff, so again I'm gonna ask something sensitive. Can we post this repository of ideas, at least these 5 ideas, at Ronen's and at GCArchitects?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we have 2 more commitments. Excellent. Well,
everybody will know after that we spoke about here.
No. I mean, we know that. We know that. Of course, they can help, but I like to formalize the question. I think it's necessary. So, Alberto.
Yes, I have a question, and I want to know your point of view because it's something that is not decided yet. At the beginning, we were talking about that everyone can be part of this association. And you, Patricio, were talking about this asymmetry between big companies and freelancers. But what happens if everyone has the same weight in the association? Is this possible? Is this good for, will you feel comfortable, for example, if you are a member of the association, but your employees are members as well?
I have no problem at all.
Excellent.
Okay.
I don't have a problem. Every time that I start a venture, in my case, I focus on the main objective. If the idea is coming from the person that is sitting next to me, or it's my idea, I don't care. I'm committed with the objective. So,
okay, this is great news, I think.
Very, very good. Very well. Okay.
One second.
Yeah, Ivan, please. Yes, yes, Ivan.
First of all, thank you for coming. Yeah, this was really hard to do that. We had a lot of discussion in our studios to how to manage this event. But at the end, we share a lot of ideas. And now, this will be the beginning of a big thing, no? For us, and for sure for everyone. We need to organize, I don't know, only share ideas. And for sure we have the same problems, and we have, or we need the ideas to solve them. Then thank you to Jose, to the organization, to everyone that is from AVA before, and that's it.
Yeah. Well. So we reaching completion. I think it's been a wonderful day. What do you think? Have you enjoyed? You liked it? You here? You found it interesting? Yeah. Well, we really thank you.
They look pretty tired.
Yeah. Now it's time to go to the real place where we're gonna do the real debate, and it's called the bar. And first we need to take a picture, but we need that all of us somehow just stop doing what they're doing, come on the stage, and we need a volunteer from the audience that shoot us a picture. And in the end, I don't know, maybe all of us, perhaps we could just like have a picture all together, because why should we just include ourselves in this wonderful photography? Maybe it's time to end. So thank you so much.
You will need it for communication purposes.
Yeah.